We've got the Eagles and the Cowboys going at it this weekend in a pretty pivotal NFC East matchup. Who do you think is going to come out on top and why?
This is a tough one for me. I know that I am a big advocate for the Eagles. I'm a big supporter. I want to see them win. It's my girls' team. It's like basically my second team. But without Jalen Hurts and his dual capability within the RPO, how he leads this team, his composure, and how he handles the adversity, whether he has interceptions, bad games like last week, he was able to turn around from a rough first half and just lead this team back to victory in Chicago. And I think that during that game is when he injured his shoulder, and yet he was still playing through a bad throwing shoulder. Now, the Eagles are being precautious. It has him listed officially as doubtful as of today, but with all that being said, it also says that Gardner Minshew's been taking first team reps. So as Kyle had said earlier, it really looks like they're going with Minshew, who has been proven time and time again is not a bad starting quarterback in this league. In some instances, people can make the argument that he would start on multiple NFL teams right this moment because he has the capability to throw the ball. He is accurate. He's got great leadership skills. He's vocal. And, quite frankly, when he was in Jacksonville, I thought that he played exceptionally well, and the only reason that he got benched was because they owed Nick Foles money, and then you go and you draft Trevor Lawrence, and you were kind of stuck there. So, with all of that going into my prediction, unfortunately, I think that with Dallas losing the way that they lost that last week, with Dak Prescott being careless with the ball, Tony Pollard running the ball as efficiently as he has been, I think Dallas gets a victory at home to bounce back. I think that the Dallas Cowboys are going to find a way to really pressure and get to Gardner Minshew to make sure that he is going to make those rush decisions. Again, not to say that he is a bad quarterback, but he is not Jalen Hurts. He does not have the movement and the mobility on his legs to go and make plays like Jalen does. I think it limits the playbook. You're going to have to open it up more to handing it off to Miles Sanders. You're going to have to open it up to throwing it more times than not. I don't know if you're going to still have the capability of running it on third and short with that RPO. I know maybe on 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, you still have the best offensive line in football, but you do not have the strength and the physical prowess that Jalen Hurts brings to the table. Now, the relationship with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown, it's clear, it's concise, it's obvious. It is probably one of the best tandems in the league. I don't think that Minshew and AJ are going to be able to get that in a week's worth of practice. Not even a week, because obviously this game is going to be on Saturday as opposed to the game that was just played on Sunday. So they've only had a few days to really get together and really find chemistry to really kind of get in a groove. But I will again say that I think that, CeeDee Lamb is going to be not locked up, but he's going to be contained between the combination of Bradbury and, of course, Darius Slay. For Dallas to win, they are going to need to run the football. They are going to need to keep the ball away from the offense of the Philadelphia Eagles. They are going to need to capitalize and score in the red zone so that they are not playing field goal and not playing catch up. I think this is going to be a close game. I think this is going to go down to the fourth quarter. I think Dallas wins in a nail biter, probably by the score of, I want to say, again, just to respect both defenses because Dallas is one of the better pass rushing teams as well as the Eagles. I think this could easily go into the mid-20s. I want to say 24-21 Dallas. I think that Maurer hits a game-winning field goal to kind of put them up. But, again, Philly is still going to be one of the best teams in the league. Obviously, with 2 games to go after the season, they're really going to have to just win one to clinch the division. But I think they split the season series. Dallas will move on to 11-4, and Philly will fall to 13-2. And hopefully, it doesn't become a trend with Gardner Minshew and not Jalen Hurts. We'll see what happens as the injury gets further developed and what rehab ends up doing for him.
Did you say Maurer?
Yeah, Brett Maurer.
No, it's Maher.
Maher. I was
Yeah,
close.
I was thinking Maurer. I'm like, you talking about Joe Mauer from
Joe Mauer,
baseball?
the catcher. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was thinking. I was like, oh, like that's a flashback there. I mean, Joe Mauer was a beast back in the day. No,
Former
I,
MVP.
I, I kind of had to catch myself for a second. I was like, oh, it was Maher. I didn't know who you were talking about at first, but
Close.
now I got it. No, but Kev, I'm in agreement with you on this one. I do believe the Cowboys will win this one. Um, I have to ask you though. You see this game being a lot closer. Is it just because of what the Eagles defense is going to present against Dallas?
Yeah, and I think just truthfully, like with Dak having 11 interceptions this year, the offensive line has been up and down at times with the injuries, and with the Eagles having probably the first, if not second best pass rush alongside Dallas, there's going to be a lot of pressures. There's going to be a lot of moments where passes are going to be forced. And it may be a sloppy game. Dak has been known to turn it over this season. We don't know if Gardner's going to be able to force the ball down the field with his lack of mobility when compared to Jalen. I don't necessarily know if he's going to be able to keep up with Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence in that backfield consistently if the Eagles' offensive line is unable to hold.
I think the way that I see this game playing out is one of two ways. I think I think the Cowboys are going to win both ways. It's just the margin of victory. Because the way that I see it is, if that Cowboys defense can step up, and I mean play hellacious defense, I mean, there's a very good chance that the Eagles may only score 14 to 17 points. Now, I understand the Eagles have the best record in football, but with Jalen not being in the starting lineup this coming weekend, you got Gardner in there. I'm telling you, I think Dallas may potentially smell blood in the water here, and they may take advantage of. We're going to force Gardner into some situations where he's going to force the ball out early, and maybe that Dallas defense can take advantage of it. The other way I have this playing out is, like you said, a very close matchup where it kind of comes down to the wire. But I don't think it's going to really come off the backs of Gardner and the typical offensive weapons that we see with the Eagles. I actually think it would be more of a focus on running the football against Dallas, kind of making it more of kind of a grind type of game where
Yeah.
they own the time of possession a little bit more. But I just believe there's too many variables working against the Eagles here. And I think it just simply goes to not having Jalen in the fold. If Jalen was playing this game, I think the Eagles win this one by about 7 points. Even though it's a road game, I think they would potentially win. But with him not being there, I think that's the pivotal reason why that the Cowboys are going to win this game. I mean, Kev, you outlined it pretty well. I think the Cowboys, there have been times the last couple of weeks that they faltered. They damn near lost to the Texans a couple of weeks ago. And I think they had a wake up call against the Jags last week. I mean, they got absolutely blown out in the second half of that game, and they could not stop Trevor Lawrence. And I think had they gone up against Jalen Hurts this week, I think it would have been kind of a similar type of issue that the Cowboys would have to deal with. But I think going up against Gardner, I think it's going to be a little bit of an easier challenge. They shouldn't look at it that way. They probably need to play up to the standard of we want to play what we're going up against in Jalen, but since Jalen's not there, we're still going to bring that same type of intensity, that same type of ferocity against Gardner. And I think this is going to be a situation where I think the Cowboys defense, they lock it down, that they potentially hold this Eagles offense to 14 to 17 points. And I think it comes with slowing down the run game that the Eagles have. The Eagles have a very good run game, but with them kind of being out of their comfort zone, not being able to run this RPO that they really live by, with Gardner now being the quarterback, I think that's really going to put them in a tailspin. I just don't think that the offensive rhythm is going to be the same for the Eagles this week with Gardner in there compared to Jalen. And I think that the Cowboys, I think this is going to just be an easier defensive challenge, knowing that Gardner is not really as mobile as Jalen. And I think when it comes to the Cowboys offense, as long as they're able to not turn the ball over, which has been an issue because Dak Prescott has been one of the more turnover prone quarterbacks, I'd say for the last month or two. So, he's definitely got to clean that up as far as I see it. But if they're able to run the ball effectively with Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, use those guys out of the backfield, and as long as Dak is able to complete his passes effectively to CD Lamb, Noah Brown, and also Dalton Schultz, I think there's a very good chance that these guys could be able to play relatively well against the Eagles defense. But like I said earlier, I think this game is going to go one of two ways. I think it's either going to be a close game or I think it's going to be more of a comfortable win for Dallas here. I'm actually going to go with the more comfortable route. I think they're going to win pretty comfortably in this game. I think Dallas, based on what they're going to do defensively, I think they're really just going to lock down the run game for the Eagles, force Gardner to win that game against Dallas's defense. I don't think that's going to work out for the Eagles in that case, just because I don't think Gardner is going to be the guy. And I think as long as Dak is just careful with the ball and they rely on the run game that they have with Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott, I think that's going to work wonders for them. If I had to put a score on it, I'm not going to say that Dallas is going to put up like 40 points in this game. I don't see that happening. This is a rivalry game, and typically these games aren't really high scoring to begin with. So if I had to put a score on it, I'm going to say Dallas wins this one by the score of, let's say, 24 to 17. I think this is one of those games where I think Dallas is going to win relatively comfortably. I don't think this is going to come down to like a last second field goal, but I think as long as Dallas is just able to not turn the ball over, make good halftime adjustments, and just honestly own time of possession, I think they'll be fine. And this will improve their record not only in the NFC East, but the NFC as well if they're able to win this game against the Eagles. Because there's only a couple weeks left in the season, and they got to get all the wins that they can to improve their standing when it comes to their wild card spot. Because I think at this point, they're not going to be able to get the top of the NFC. I think the Eagles have that well in hand at this point, unless the Eagles absolutely falter. So to round this out, I got the Cowboys winning this one. What was it, 24 to 17? I'm going to go with that.